Hi. I'm so excited to talk to you about maybe I'm always excited to talk to you, but I have been going on this journey and I haven't involved anybody else with it. It's been something that I've really kept as a personal experience, and I'm just ready to share it with you. I've been cleaning up my technology. I know everybody has to do it and everybody's running into it all the time. Over the years, I would get all of these like, iCloud is running out, your Gmail is full, your phone's backed up, you can't sync to the cloud anymore. I would get all of these notifications over the years, and I'm sure you have as well. And I know that the easiest thing to do, and I can't say that I haven't done it sometimes, the easiest thing to do is you just buy more space. You just give them a little more money and you delay the problem. And to me, it's kind of a psychological mind fuck. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but it gives you the illusion that everything that you're doing doesn't have a consequence. You can continue accumulating photos, you can continue creating all your tabs, you can continue buying your things, and the space is unlimited. You just keep giving them more money and they'll give you more space, and you can just keep doing everything that it is that you already have been doing without any consequence, right? And I think it sets up, my generation in particular, I think the younger people are more conscientious, like they want the flip phones, and they feel more the planet than we ever did. But for us, it sets us up for a really bad sense of whatever I do is okay, I deserve everything, like I'm just gonna continue buying and consuming and the world will figure it out and it's not my problem, or I'm doing the best I can, I recycle. But after a while, and this became more of an emotional journey, which is why I kept it so much to myself instead of sharing it. I just realized that it was a mess. I would open up my laptop. I would not want to open up my laptop, but I would open up my laptop and I'd be like, oh, this, or same for my phone. I would look at my photos and I would be like, oh my God, it's like, who needs 20,000 photographs? Like, I don't even want to look at it. I had done the photo cleanup a little bit over the years just because I had seen how much space I was taking up, and I just didn't want to spend the money on, it's a weird big jump, right? Like you go either from $3 a month for iCloud or like 20. So I just didn't want to spend that money. So I would just like every once in a while do like the bare minimum cleanup, which if you think about, if you did it at your house, you just like, did the laundry when it was like overflowing. I've seen this before, by the way. I was visiting, this is an aside, I was visiting my best friend from childhood in LA, and I wanted to use his washer dryer. I was staying at his place. I was like 2 days in, I do my laundry a lot. So he shows me where the laundry is, and it's this big laundry room, but I had to climb on top of a mountain of laundry in order to reach the dryer, which was stacked up. They're all really tall. So yes, you can do this in the physical world. If you have it in the physical world, it's just like more uncomfortable because you see how things pile up. Digitally, you can just like, not. You can just pretend it doesn't happen. So this is the order in which I did it. Maybe this is helpful to you, or you should, do it any way that it suits you. I would just start with what's easiest personally. I started because I wanted to make videos, right? I wanted to do this project for you, and I've been wanting to do this project for years. It's been in every planner for the last few years, but here we are actually doing it. And I have to thank my friend David for this, also in California, who asked me to make some videos for him, yoga teaching videos. And I realized if I'm going to start making videos, I have to start making space for videos, right? You can't just start something new without letting go of the old. So I was like, okay, I have a really good purpose for this. It's very clear. It's been piling up. So one morning, and it was first thing in the morning, right out of bed, and I don't like looking at a screen right in the morning, but I did open up my laptop. It's easier to clean up photos from your laptop, by the way. For me, looking at the phone is really hard. The pictures are small. You just can't tell the difference. Sometimes you take like 5 photos of the same thing, you know? You can't tell which one is better, worse, why you took 5 if it was like, you know, even if it was last week, you don't remember, probably. So I just started scrolling. I picked any random time point. I just like, you know, scrolled up a little like that. And I started with a year ago. And looking at the pictures of myself a year ago, like it's, you know, there's selfies, there are yoga photos, photos of relationship, photos of pictures of flowers and plants and my writings and stuff. So you do reflect. If you give yourself the time and the space, which is essential, you do have the opportunity to reflect on what's happened to you over that time. This is personal, but I was really surprised to see how much pain I was in a year ago. I was working through all of these injuries that I just never spoke to anybody about, because as a teacher, when I show up to teach a class, I am there for my students. I never with a client would say, I'm in pain, right? I wouldn't do that. I don't talk to people about it. I just work through it. I do my own work, you know. But when I looked at the photographs of myself, and very obviously I was heavier, like, you know, 15, 20 pounds heavier. But it was so clear that it wasn't really the body weight that was the pain. It was the pain that was the pain. So working through those, deleting some photos that were just like me trying, just trying, you know, and God bless that effort. So I deleted a lot of that, not because I didn't want it to exist, but because, you know, I just don't need evidence of that. I just don't need those photographs. I had a really nice, deep moment with myself. I took a walk after that, right? You know, who would I be without any single photograph? If I just deleted every single picture, right? You know, I would still exist. I would still be here. Think about like thousands of years of human beings who never had a photograph. Like, it's just not a real human need. We just get so attached. Oh, me, my photos, my phone, my camera, I need to take photos. I don't know. It was very nice. Now, like, I've gone through almost all of my photographs. I've deleted a lot. Any videos I don't need to keep, like if it's already uploaded, then, you know, delete, done. I try not to pile things up, right? So dusting out the corners as I do things. So I went from the photos, and then I realized, oh, my inbox, you know, it's like thousands of emails. I don't do a lot of emailing, and this might or might not resonate with you. If you have a more corporate job, probably you have to clean out your inbox like a lot. Or maybe you don't, I don't know. But if you're a creative, if you work in, you know, fitness instead of finance, then like you don't really need your email all that much. I mostly text. I did realize that I could clean up my text messages. That was such a trip. Like people that I haven't texted in like 2, 3, 4 years, way down at the bottom of my text history, I was like, oh, this used to be my network. And most people, you know, I live in New York City, people come, people go, it's like that. Very rarely did I run into I did run into like an ex-boyfriend where I was just like, oh my God. Like on my text, I was like looking at our text history, and like we had like, you know, just like this much text. For what it's worth. I would say my most special texts are with my father. Of course, years and years, oh, my voice is breaking. Years of texting with him, and it's just really special. Inbox was crazy because I realized, oh, I got really emotional. My inbox was crazy because I realized during the pandemic, I just sort of disconnected at some point. I just stopped really like taking care of my inbox. Maybe it was some form, I'm guessing, some form of like disconnecting from the world, which was really strange and uncomfortable, especially living in New York. Just a lot of heartbreak and pain everywhere, a lot of isolation, deep and difficult times, and times where you do want to disconnect, and you don't want to be hooked into what's going on. And as soon as you do, it feels upsetting. Or what I realized, like, I had so much shopping emails, like, your order, it's on its way. This is on sale. Like, I was subscribed to a lot of commerce, which I've gotten better. I've disconnected from a lot of my materialism, and it was really just a coping mechanism, right? And I think a lot of us went through that during pandemic. Clearing out my email helped me realize that was like a major thing that I was doing and don't need to do. I actually haven't bought any clothes in the last 2 months. No clothes, no shoes. I don't think jewelry, just, yeah, it feels good. So I do have time and space to do that. If you're doing this, you do need to clear out the time and the space to feel what it is that you're doing. In my inbox, I found something that I paid a lot of money for. Feedback on a section of a novel that I turned in for a contest. I never really read the critique. I think, again, that time of heartbreak, it was like 2020, 2021. I was going through the first of many injuries, really deep injuries. I couldn't breathe well, so I didn't feel good. The world was falling apart, outside, inside. I was really disappointed that my work didn't win an award right away, so it was a bit of an ego blow as well. Fortunately, I was able to download that critique, and I have it now, and I've been able to read it. And years later, the feedback from this stranger, this acclaimed novelist who's never met me, I'll never meet them, probably never read his writing for what it's worth, but to read what he wrote about my writing is really powerful because writing is so personal and it tells you your mindset, right? So I'm so very glad that I have gone through my inbox. There's still so much more to do, but I'm glad that I found that. There are gems waiting in there, so don't just click everything, delete everything. That's very tempting. Oh, I did it. No, really just put in the hard work. Speaking of hard work and emotional work, voicemails. I had over 200, maybe close to 300 when I started this project 2 or 3 weeks ago. And again, a lot of them were during the pandemic because suddenly everyone's calling everyone else. We can't see each other. And I am pretty infamous for just not being available by phone. It's part of the yoga lifestyle. I'm really hooked into what's happening in real life, which makes the technology project really brave for me personally. So I do feel that sense of courage as I do this. I started going through the voicemails, and it's really very challenging because when you listen to somebody, only people you love, right, leave you good voicemails. The ones that were really nice to delete were just old landlords. Not a part of my life anymore. Don't need to listen to that voice. Delete. Easy. Spam, it was kind of easy to figure that out, delete it. It was hard during the breakups. There were several breakups that were documented in my voicemail. And it was really interesting. I know this pattern for myself, but which man came after which man? That's a very long video that we don't have to go into. My parents' voicemails were actually the most interesting for me because the richness of emotion that you can hear in every message. And I know them and they know me, and so I can immediately, hearing the mail, just the voice, you know what they're doing. I know what they're doing. My dad getting out of a meeting, my mom just got home from shopping, somebody's worried about something, they're calling because they're worried, or they're calling because they missed a call and they want to hear you, or the reason for the call is very interesting, right? So for personal reasons, I kept some and I deleted a lot. And now I am proud to say I'm down to 9 voicemails. I think they're all just from my dad. And they're really enjoyable at this point to get through, but I'll tell you the first 200, it's boom after boom, oh, I forgot that happened, oh, I forgot I moved to New York kind of overnight on a whim, and my landlord in DC was kind of pissed. I just forgot, And I think a lot of the forgetting is good and beneficial. You just don't need to hold on to those memories. And that's why we're doing this, right? We make space. So after I did photos, email, voicemail, text was not that hard. What I did more recently and including last night is probably like you, I have like 500 tabs open on my browsers. And every time I'm like, oh, I really need to look this up, I open up a tab. And in your iPhone especially, I use Safari, probably not as sophisticated as what you're doing. I don't know, I just use Safari. It's like, you've got 700 tabs open. Right now I've got 100 and something, 115 maybe, but it's unlimited space. There's no like, hey, checking in on like why you have 500 tabs open. Like, didn't you finish that project? No, maybe you should. Like, no one talks to you like that on the phone, right? On your iPhone, I guess. Or maybe there are apps for that, I don't know. So I started going through them. The ones that I kept, a lot of them I did keep open by choice because I have this passion and this love for etymology. So one of my most frequented sites is etymology.com. I would be super geeked to connect with this guy who like makes this website because I love knowing like what words I'm using. They're very powerful, especially a lot of my writing is more philosophy based, like what is desire, what is appetite, what is delight, how are these words connected? And coming from this yoga background and being Indian, sometimes I look up Sanskrit words. It's a little harder to find, but my brain is really hardwired bilingually, so understanding the English is good, like the background of a word, whether I also spoke French and Spanish, so sometimes it comes from Old French or Old German, a lot of the times Latin or Greek, right? I took Latin when I was in high school. So connecting to like a real old meaning, and if you get back to the Latin, you kind of want to get back to the Sanskrit because these are the ancient languages that make what we're speaking now. And without understanding the words and the language, we don't really understand the setup of the mind, our perspective and the constructs, the beliefs even, morals that we are living by. So I kept a lot of the etymology open. I'm probably going to start making a document where I just write down the good meanings of words that blew my mind and I think are really integral and foundational, and maybe I'll publish that when I publish my book, hopefully soon, right? So I do have some ideas of what to do with that. I found some MIT OpenCourseware that I had just like tabbed open in my iPhone, but it didn't transfer to my laptop, which is where it would be actually useful to download a course and learn something really cool from MIT for free. So that's a project that I'm really excited to get into. I have a lot of books also that I need to read. Once I finish my digital projects, I'm going to go analog once again. Some of the tabs that I closed out were just like so old. Like so old that the websites don't exist anymore. Crazy, like 404 errors or like we can't find what you're looking for. So just closing those out. And sometimes you get triggered again, like, oh, I opened up this page a few weeks ago because there are these really fancy, expensive pens that I love and I only have 2 of already, so maybe I ought to buy 3 or 4 more so I can round out my collection. It is crazy, I know it's crazy, but sometimes when you see that image, you just get triggered or like cued, you get this impression that's woken up in a not positive way, like just close out the things you're done with, you just close it. The other really powerful thing is that I've been reading a lot of psychology literature, like primary data. So from my phone and from my laptop, I just created folders, downloaded the PDFs, transferred things I want to print, things I want to keep. So much more organized in terms of when I want to research. When I'm looking up research that was relevant to something I was interested in 3 weeks ago, but at this point is a resolved issue, I understand this question about impulsivity. I understand this commonality between narcissism and borderline. I understand it. Okay, close that out. Done. It doesn't need to hang there anymore. So that's where I am in the process, and I feel like, you know, pretty close to done. I've made a lot of space in my mind, which is really the purpose of it. So I hope that's helpful or inspiring to you. Maybe you feel connected, that it doesn't have to be like this kind of an approach. And yes, like, feel free to feel your emotions. It's really important to understand that as human beings we are complex, and living in a technology driven world where we are not machines, right? I intentionally am not framing this in terms of productivity, right? But in terms of feeling, because ultimately we're all artists. So feel, experience, love your life, live your life, make space, make lots of freedom, subscribe, you know. Drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Enjoy.